Hi, I'm Sophie, founder of Hearty Mums and your host for the Precious Plan, an initiative to support women who are planning for a baby in their 30s. And in this inaugural online conference, we will be bringing together a variety of experts who will share their insights on how you can improve your chances of conceiving a healthy baby and have an enjoyable pregnancy using natural methods to enhance your lifestyle and complement your journey. So today I have the pleasure of interviewing Corinne G. Reiter, founder of Nutritious and Delicious. She is a wellness warrior, passionate foodie, environmental enthusiast, and mama of two who has been working as a functional medicine nutritionist and culinary nutritionist for over 13 years. So previously practicing in Sydney and Hong Kong, she moved to Singapore in 2012, where she established her current private practice as a leading Singapore nutritionist, culinary nutrition teacher, and wellness speaker. So today, Kevin will be sharing with us a holistic approach to preparing your body for pregnancy and tackling infertility. So thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us. Please tell us more about yourself and what you're passionate about.
Thank you for having me. I think you covered who I am quite in depth. I think just to sum it up, I'm passionate about making food tasty and making people understand that healthy food can actually be very, very tasty, and that what you eat is your body's fuel and it affects your health immensely. So my passion is teaching people how to eat properly, how to cook properly, how to shop properly, so that they can fuel their body with the right type of fuel and understand where they can improve. And that's in a nutshell.
Fantastic, thank you. So as we're focusing on women in their 30s and 40s who are planning to start a family, some women get started without much thought, while others actually require a little more effort. And health, be it mental or physical, is one aspect that can be commonly overlooked. So please share with us why it's important for women to look into their health prior to conception.
So one of the things, the way I practice is in a very functional, holistic approach. I really try and understand if the body is working at its optimal levels. And in order to do that, the body needs specific nutrients. Things like vitamin D, things like iron, things like vitamin A, things like zinc, things like magnesium, things like B12. These are nutrients that the body needs in order to function properly. Very often, we're seeing, because of the way our lifestyle is, because of the food choices that we're making, that people are not getting enough of these micronutrients and macronutrients. And what's happening is we're starting to develop deficiencies. And the minute you have nutritional deficiencies, your body's just not going to function at its optimum best. Very frequently, people go to the doctor, especially if they're trying to conceive, and they'll say, please do a blood test on me to check that I'm okay. And the doctor always does the blood test, and he's always looking for to see, that the liver is working well and that the kidneys are working well. But most often, they don't really check for nutritional deficiencies. They don't go that step further. And the first step that I do in my clinic, because I'm very practical and I love chemistry, I want to see people's blood results. I want to look at vitamin D levels, ferritin levels, which is the iron storage levels, which are very, very important for fertility. Zinc levels. It doesn't really interest me to look at plasma zinc, which is regular zinc floating around the blood. I'm interested to look into red blood cell zinc. So when you're asking your doctor for the blood test, you're going to say, doctor, can you please check my red blood cell zinc? Same goes for magnesium. Same goes for selenium. I'm looking to look at B12. That's a very, very, very important piece of getting better and getting your body ready for pregnancy and tackling infertility. And most often, when we find that a person is on the lower end of the ranges, because it's, the fact that you're in the range does not necessarily mean you're at optimal range. So it's also, how do I read the blood tests? If the range is 30 to 50 and you're on 32, you're at the lower end of the range. You need to bring yourself up to function at optimal level. So that's the first step. I would like to look at the blood chemistry. I'd like people to get tested, and I like to get the supplementation in at that point to bring the person's body up to where it does. And most often, when we supplement and we get the nutritional levels to where they need to be, the body starts functioning properly again.
Yes, wonderful.
And I think it's fair also to say that when we supplement, we don't just throw an over-the-counter general multivitamin supplement at people. We strategically supplement what's low. So if your zinc is low, we'll give you a very good quality high-dose zinc to get your zinc levels to where they need to go. Same goes for iron, same goes for vitamin D, same goes for B12. We really like to supplement so that it fixes the problem and not just like a general blanket of supplementation. And the thing with supplementation is that it's better to not supplement if you're not buying the best quality supplements. And the best quality supplements cannot be bought at Guardian or the regular pharmacies. You want to get supplements that are very low in binders and fillers and all kinds of chemicals. And you want to get very high grade, biologically high grade supplements. And that's why it's very important to work with someone that's in this field and not just go self-supplementing and listening to any other blogger or neighbor or whoever that you just pick up that says, oh, if you take that, it will help your fertility, because that can actually make things worse.
Yes, it's really insightful. I think most people don't think about taking a kind of blood test to find out what the deficiencies are. And even then taking the supplementation, the appropriate one that is targeted at what you're deficient in. I think that's really important, and also the right one, not just any over the counter. That's really insightful. So when what are some other tips? I'm sorry.
Quickly just put in two more little factors. While you're at it and you're doing your blood test, it's a good idea to also check inflammation in the body. There's a couple of inflammation markers. One is called ESR, one is called CRP, and one is called homocysteine, that you can ask your doctor to check for you. And that's also a good indicator. If the inflammation markers are high, and again, it depends on how you read the ranges, it's something to take note. If the body's inflamed, it's not going to host a pregnancy. And one more thing for those who are really, wanting to get to the root cause of their fertility, I would recommend to also look into food sensitivities. This test is called IgG. It's not done by everybody, but it's a good blood test to get if you want to know. Sometimes we pick up that people have a lot of food sensitivities. And Sophie, I know that you and me have spoken about this a lot in the past, how food sensitivities can really affect people's immunity, inflammation, and just general hormonal function. So that's just, so food sensitivities, inflammation markers, and nutritional deficiencies. That's a very, very good start to getting the big picture.
Okay, that's a good start. Yeah, fantastic. So what other tips would you have from a nutritional perspective to support women wanting to conceive?
I think there's a few. Start off with going organic. A lot of the pesticides and the herbicides and the different fungicides that are put on our food, they are called endocrine disruptors. When they get in the body, they disrupt our hormonal system. If you want your hormonal system to work well, you need to try and minimize the amount of toxins and chemicals that you're exposed to. The food system is a great one, so I would definitely recommend going organic. If you're worried about cost, I would recommend looking on the website of the Environmental Working Group, which maybe Sophie later you can put up a link to that website. They've got a list called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And the Dirty Dozen means what are the fruits and vegetables that are the most highly sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, and the Clean 15 are the ones that are the least. So if budget is an issue, focus on buying the ones that are the dirtiest, things like strawberry and celery and green leafy vegetables and herbs. Buy them organic. And then things like avocados and pineapple and papaya, you don't need to buy organic. So just learning what we should buy organic, what we shouldn't. That would be my first step. My second important tip is to get a water filter and to look into the quality of the water that you're drinking. Tap water is perfectly safe to drink. It's not necessarily the best, healthiest water to drink because it's got lots of chlorine in it and it's got all kinds of other chemicals that are going through in the water. And that's something that we want to think about when we're putting water in our body. Drinking water from plastic bottles, it has its problems as well because we know that plastic acts like an endocrine disruptor as well. So very, very basic things, getting a water filter and swapping to organic fruits and veg. That's an important step into getting the body just less toxic. The less toxic the body, the more it can actually do its job.
Okay.
The next thing is balancing our blood glucose levels. So all the hormones are kind of interconnected to each other, and progesterone and estrogen, they all work together. But one of the most important hormones in our body is insulin, which is the hormone that manages our blood glucose levels. And most often than not, people, even if they're not overweight, they're abusing their insulin in their body. How do you abuse your insulin? You eat sweet foods often. When you eat sweet foods often, or lots of carbohydrates, what happens is your blood glucose levels spike. As a result of that, insulin has to come in and mop up all that glucose in the body and put it back in the cells. If this happens repeatedly throughout the day, that creates very unstable blood glucose levels, which will in turn create unstable insulin levels, which will in turn affect the rest of the hormones. So if you're eating, white bread and buns and all kinds of like pastries for breakfast, or even cereals, and you're eating, lots of rice and noodles, and, for lunch, maybe a chocolate or some cookies or something like that in the afternoon, and then again, rice and noodles for dinner, that's abusing your blood glucose levels. And so how do we balance blood glucose levels? Is trying to avoid all those white foods, all the white flour and the white sugar and the white salt, but also making sure that we're balancing our meals. So every meal should contain a good quality protein, about the size of the palm of our hand. It could be chicken, it could be meat, it could be fish, it could be lentils or legumes for those people that are vegetarian. So every meal should have a protein in it, and every meal should have good quality fat in it. So what is good quality fat? Things like olives and olive oil and avocado and nuts and seeds. If you balance out the carbohydrates together with the proteins and the fats, it helps balance out blood glucose levels. If you choose whole grains like brown rice versus white rice, whole wheat bread versus white bread, then you're also going to balance out blood glucose levels. So that's a very, very, very important tip, because when insulin is stable, so are the rest of the hormones.
Interesting.
So that's tip number 2. So that's tip number 3. So tip number 1 was going organic. Tip number 2 is checking your water quality. Tip number 3 is balancing out your blood glucose levels. Tip number 4 is, reducing significantly coffee or caffeine and alcohol. Both, we know, have a significant impact on hormones, the stress hormones, which affect the insulin, which affect the fertility hormones or the female hormones. So that's something that we really want to try and avoid. And I always tell people, if you were pregnant, would you be drinking 5 cups of coffee a day? Would you be drinking 5 glasses of alcohol a day? And most people would say to me, no. So I say, if you want to be pregnant, you need to act pregnant.
Yeah. Okay.
So avoiding this type of food. And, if it's hard for you to quit coffee, then maybe reduce the amount of coffee. So if you're drinking 5, go down to 3. If you're drinking 3, go down to 1, and swap it with things like green tea, which have a lot of antioxidants in them, but less of that strong caffeine. And then my last tip is to incorporate healthy fat into the diet, because hormones are very, very dependent on fat. And in order for them to communicate properly with each other, they need fat. And one of the best sources of fats are things like fatty fish like sardines and anchovies, which are also small fish, and they're less toxic than big fish like tuna. Things like nuts, like walnuts, are a really good source of fat, but even almonds, all the different seeds, chia seeds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, all of the nuts and seeds have to be raw, not roasted, not salted, not baked. Have to be in their raw version, and preferably soaked so that they actually become softer and much more bioavailable. So things like nuts and seeds, things like fatty fish, things like avocados, olives, olive oils, and very, very, very good quality fats. So things like extra virgin olive oil, extra virgin coconut oil, extra virgin almond oil, extra virgin avocado oil. And then also avoiding the bad types of fats. And I tell people, you kind of got to become an oil snob. When you go to the supermarket, every oil that's in a plastic bottle that costs $5, those are the ones you want to avoid. You want to go for the glass bottle oils that are starting to cost a little bit more, because they're extra virgin and cold pressed. And the thing about oils is that you don't need a lot. You really need small amounts to achieve, results. In any case, I don't recommend people to fry their food. You should be steaming, roasting, sauteing, and not deep frying. So you should not be using big amounts of oil. So it should be sustainable. I think those are the biggest tips that I can tell people. In terms of give it a general suggestion, I tell people, try go back to your ancestral type of eating. So I think that works very well for a lot of people. If you're ethnically Chinese, go back to an ethnic Chinese diet. Don't try and eat a Western diet because you think it's going to help your fertility. A lot of people do very well on what their DNA knows best, which is their ethnic diet. Obviously, it has to be a very unprocessed diet. So not the current Chinese diet, but what your great-great-grandmother used to eat, and as close as possible to nature.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I see the most results for people.
Fantastic. Well, that's really, really lots of helpful information there. Thank you so much. So with all these, what would be one practical tip for women to kickstart a healthy journey?
I'm a huge fan of smoothies. The smoothie can be hot or cold. A lot of people freak out when I tell them smoothies because they think it needs to be something cold. No, you can definitely make a hot smoothie. And I've even had clients who I've taught them how to make green soups and not green smoothies, and they've had those for breakfast. And I'm fine with that. I think that's great. What I think that smoothies and soups do is that when we blend together all the vegetables, whether they're cooked or they're raw, it's just much easier for the body to digest them, and you can get quite big amounts of these vegetables into the body. I think for a lot of people, breakfast is usually a struggle. What should I eat? How should I eat? And I think breakfast is a very important meal, and often people don't have time for breakfast. So my quick tip is to get a blender, just a simple blender. This is called fast food. Really what you need to put in your blender is a little bit of almond milk, or coconut water if you fancy that, a banana, maybe some spinach leaves, maybe some blueberries, maybe some cinnamon, maybe half an avocado for some good oil, for some good fats. You might put a tablespoon of almond butter in there for some healthy protein, and blend that all up. And if you buy yourself a nice glass bottle, you can take that with you to work, and you can have that as breakfast. That is a very nutritious meal that contains healthy protein, healthy fats, lots of micronutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, and it's going to stabilize your blood glucose levels. So that it's so simple. It takes a couple of minutes in the morning, and even you can freeze your fruits and vegetables in advance so that you don't have to keep fresh ones in the house. So you can make little Ziploc bags and chop in your blueberries and your banana and your spinach. And you just put it in the freezer and empty it into your blender. That being said, if you don't like to have smoothies, you can have green soups. You can cook a big batch of soup with bone broth or chicken essence, and you can put, spinach and asparagus and any green vegetable, broccoli, anything that you like, blend it all up together, and then just heat that in the morning and take that with you. So just give your body, at least in the morning, some green food, because that's what the body needs the most.
Wow, that's a really fantastic tip. And it actually sounds delicious as well with the almond butter and all that inside. So thank you so much, Irene, for thank you for sharing about health, nutrition, and fertility today. So just summarizing what you said, it's important to know our nutritional deficiencies. What are the inflammations, or if there's any sensitivities that we might have, and also have more real foods, checking in on the EWG dirty dozens, and look at your water quality, check on your blood glucose, and reducing caffeine and alcohol, and also looking into having more healthy fats. But what I really like what you said is, if you want to be pregnant, you should act pregnant, and that's a really great takeaway for all of us. So if you would like to work further with Karine, please click on the link below for the classes or workshops that she might offer. And also we will be sharing with you the smoothie recipe that she has shared today. So please join us in the next few days as we present to you more golden nuggets from our panel of experts. And here's to the best start for your baby. I am Sophie, your host for The Precious Plan, signing off for now.
Thank you.